Have you ever tasted something so sweet you thought it was a literal miracle from the gods? Imagine you are a soldier in the most powerful army on the planet. You have marched thousands of miles from your home in Greece. You have seen the pyramids and crossed the burning deserts of the Middle East. But now you are standing in the lush river valleys of ancient India. You reach out and snap a thick green reed from the ground. A clear liquid leaks out, and when you taste it, your brain explodes with a flavor you cannot explain. For your entire life, the only source of concentrated sweetness was honey stolen from beehives. But this honey didn't come from a bee. This honey was growing out of the dirt like a common weed. This is the ancient secret that fooled Alexander the Great and his entire empire. It is the story of how ancient India invented the world's favorite addiction. Before we continue, please subscribe so you can be notified whenever I drop a new video. For centuries, the Western world lived in a state of total sugar blindness. The Greeks and Romans were masters of philosophy, war, and engineering. Yet they were completely clueless about the existence of the sugarcane plant. To them, sweetness was a rare luxury found only in fruit or the dangerous work of beekeepers. When Alexander the Great marched into India in 326 BC, he wasn't just looking for territory. He had an unending desire to see the wonders of the unknown world. His officer, a man named Nearchus, was the first to record the discovery of these reeds. He described finding a plant that produced honey without the help of any insects. This report sent shockwaves back to the Mediterranean. The idea of honey without bees sounded as impossible as a river flowing uphill. But the Greeks couldn't just explain it away with science. They were genuinely puzzled by the biology of this sweet grass. The ancient writer Megasthenes even tried to come up with a logical theory. He believed the plant performed a type of natural cooking process underground. According to his theory, the reeds sucked up plain water from the soil. Then the intense heat of the Indian sun warmed the water so much it transformed into a thick syrup inside the stalk. It was a brilliant but totally wrong guess. While the Greeks were scratching their heads, ancient Indian farmers were already miles ahead. They hadn't just discovered the plant, they had mastered the chemistry of it. They knew that the sweetness wasn't a miracle, but a product of engineering. Long before Alexander arrived, India had invented the world's first sugar factories. They used massive animal-operated machines called Mahayantron to crush the stalks. These machines were so iconic that their name, Koluka, is still used in modern Indian languages today. The real secret, however, was in the boiling. If you just leave sugarcane juice out in the sun, it ferments and goes bad in minutes. Indian innovators figured out that evaporating the water through heat created a stable product. They didn't just make one kind of sugar, they created an entire spectrum of sweetness. They started with a rough syrup called panita. Then they moved to a solid called gura, which we now know as jaggery. Eventually, they reached the ultimate goal, crystallization. They noticed that as the liquid cooled, it left behind tiny gritty particles. Because these particles looked like gravel or small rocks, they called the substance sharkara. If that word sounds familiar, it's because it is the direct ancestor of our English word sugar. They also created small, hard fragments called khanda. When you reach for a piece of candy today, you're actually using a 2,500-year-old Sanskrit word. India treated this stone honey as more than just a snack. For 1,000 years, they kept the refining process a closely guarded secret. They didn't see sugar as a food staple, but as a powerful, sacred medicine. Ancient Indian physicians prescribed sugar for everything from headaches to stomach problems. They even believed it could act as a kidney cleanser to flush toxins from the body. This medicinal reputation followed sugar as it slowly leaked out of India and into the hands of neighboring empires. The Persians were the first to learn the technique, calling it shakar. They even had legends about their kings finding the sacred sugar as a gift from the gods to symbolize the triumph of light over darkness. For a long time, the only way to get this Indian medicine was to trade your weight in gold. Even the mighty Romans eventually got their hands on small shipments of the sweet crystals. But because they didn't know how to produce it themselves, it remained an exotic curiosity. Roman doctors like Pliny the Elder used it sparingly to treat issues with the bladder and even eye infections. To the Romans, sugar wasn't a dessert. It was a high-end laxative. Can you imagine paying a month's wages for a single pound of what we now put in our coffee for free? That was the reality of a world where India held the monopoly on sweetness. This secret remained so effective that it took nearly another millennium for the knowledge to reach Europe. It wasn't until the Crusades that Westerners finally lost their minds over the taste of what they called white gold. The impact of this ancient Indian invention cannot be overstated. It was a product that created and destroyed entire financial systems. It led to the construction of national borders and the movement of people across every ocean. Eventually, this secret would spark a global revolution in how we eat. We have literally rewired our own brains to crave this substance more than survival itself. Today, sugar is the world's most widely cultivated crop, making up over 20% of the planet's entire agricultural output. We produce nearly 2 billion tons of it every single year. That is more than the weight of all the rice and wheat on Earth combined. And the crazy part is, our bodies don't even biologically need it. We get all the sugar we need from staples, like bread and vegetables. We eat it simply because we love it. The takeaway here is that Alexander the Great was just the first of many to be fooled by the power of the reed. He thought he was looking at a botanical freak of nature. He didn't realize he was witnessing the birth of a commodity that would one day be more valuable than the gold in his treasury. The ancient Indians didn't just give us a treat, they gave us a tool that shaped modern civilization. From the Sanskrit sharkara to the candy in your pantry, the legacy of that honey without bees is still sitting in your kitchen right now. So the next time you stir a spoonful into your tea, remember the Greek soldiers who were paralyzed with confusion in a jungle thousands of years ago. They saw a miracle, but we see a staple. The secret is out, and the world has never been the same since.